Hi, are you a practicing auditor aiming to strengthen audit quality and compliance, or you're preparing for professional or academic exams? Then this lesson is for you. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're breaking down a standard that directly affects audit quality, audit reputation, and audit risk. ICAN 220. Quality management for an audit of financial statements. Audit failures rarely happen because auditors don't know procedures. They happen because audit quality breaks down. ICAN 220 explains how audit firms ensure that every audit engagement is properly supervised, documented, reviewed, and controlled. This standard is especially important for exam success and for real-life audit practice, because in today's audit environment or today's regulatory environment, audit quality is everything. So stay focused, because understanding ICAN 220 will transform how you approach audit engagements professionally. Now, let's begin. If ICAN 210 was getting the contractual terms right before an audit begins, ICAN 220 is about ensuring the work itself is done right. From start to finish, it is the standard that governs how we maintain quality throughout the entire audit engagement. So what exactly is ICAN 220 all about? The standard explains the responsibility of the auditor, specifically regarding quality management at the engagement level. Now it begins, or it's important to understand that audit firms as organizations are required to have firm-wide systems of quality management in place. That's covered by another standard called the International Standards on Quality Management 1. But ICAN 220 zooms in from the firm level to the individual audit engagement. It focuses on three specific areas: the particular audit job we're working on, and the measures or the responsibilities of the engagement partner leading the audit, and the measures we take to ensure that the audit complies with all relevant professional standards and legal requirements. It's about making quality personal and specific to each audit. ICAN 220 essentially answers three fundamental questions about audit quality. First, who is responsible, or who is actually responsible for audit quality on a given engagement? Second, how do we maintain that quality throughout the engagement? Not just at the beginning or at the end, but consistently. And third, what review processes must take place to ensure that quality has been achieved? These are the questions this standard guides us through. The objective of ICAN 220 is straightforward but vitally important. It aims to ensure three things: that the audit is performed in accordance with professional standards, that the auditor issues an appropriate audit report based on the findings, and that quality is maintained throughout the entire engagement. And this last point is crucial. Audit quality is not a single step or a final check at the end. It's not something you just add on before signing the report. Audit quality is a process. It's a mindset that runs from the moment you consider accepting the engagement, through planning, through execution, and all the way to issuing the final audit report. It has to be built into every stage. Now, this slide on the screen gets to the heart of accountability. The engagement partner, the person leading the audit team, has overall responsibility for audit quality on that specific engagement. Now, this doesn't mean the partner has to do all the work themselves, but it does mean they are ultimately accountable for everything. They must ensure proper direction of the audit team, making sure everyone understands their roles and the audit objectives. They must provide adequate supervision, monitoring progress, and stepping in when issues arise. They must ensure a proper review of the work performed, checking that the evidence supports the conclusions. And they must ensure compliance with ethical requirements across the entire team. In simple terms, practical terms, when it comes to that audit, the buck stops with the engagement partner. They are accountable for the whole thing. Audit quality doesn't start with technical skills or audit programs. It starts with ethics. The entire audit team must comply with fundamental ethical principles. We're talking about integrity, being honest and straightforward, objectivity, not letting bias or conflict of interest influence judgment, professional competence and due care, maintaining the knowledge and skills to do the job properly, confidentiality, respecting the sensitivity of client information, and professional behavior, complying with laws and regulations and avoiding discreditable conduct. But there's one principle that deserves special attention: independence. Independence is the cornerstone of audit quality. It's what gives the audit report its credibility. If the auditor is not independent, in fact or in appearance, then the entire audit collapses. The opinion becomes worthless because users would question whether it was truly objective. So, ethics and particularly independence are non-negotiable foundations of audit quality. Quality management also involves making smart decisions about who we work with. Before performing any audit or performing an audit, the auditor must evaluate whether to accept a new client or continue with an existing one. This evaluation is not just a paperwork exercise. It requires considering several factors: the integrity of management. Can we trust them? The audit risks involved. Are there red flags? The firm's own competence and resources. Do we have the right people and skills to do this audit properly? And of course, compliance with ethical requirements. Can we maintain our independence? If the risks associated with a potential client are simply too high, or if management lacks integrity, the right decision, the quality decision, is to decline the engagement. Sometimes the best way to ensure quality is knowing when to say no. Now we move into the practical activities that maintain quality during the audit. ICAN 220 identifies three major activities: direction, supervision, and review. Let's start with direction. This happens at the beginning of the engagement. The engagement partner and other senior team members need to ensure that everyone on the team understands their specific responsibilities, the overall objectives of the audit, and the key risk areas that they need to be alert to. So good direction sets the tone and provides clarity before the work begins. Next is supervision. Unlike direction, which happens up front, supervision is an ongoing activity throughout the audit. It involves monitoring the progress of the audit work, keeping an eye on the budget and timeline, and most importantly, addressing significant issues as they arise. Supervision means being available to answer questions, providing guidance when team members encounter something unexpected, and ensuring that the audit stays on track. It's active. The audit is real-time management of the engagement. Finally, there is review. Review happens after the work has been performed. A senior team member, maybe the manager or the partner, examines the work done by others to ensure it supports the conclusions reached, and that it's properly documented in the audit files and that it complies with auditing standards. Review is essentially a quality control checkpoint. It's someone with more experience and perspective looking at the work with fresh eyes to catch any errors, omissions, or weaknesses in judgment. This simple step, one person reviewing another's work, significantly reduces the risk of audit errors, making it true to the final report. Now, for certain high-risk audits, ISA 220 requires an additional layer of quality control called an engagement quality review, performed by an engagement quality reviewer, or simply put, EQR. This reviewer is someone who is independent to the entire engagement team. They haven't been involved in the day-to-day work, which allows them to bring a completely objective perspective. Their role is to perform an objective evaluation of the significant judgments the audit team made and the conclusions they reached. So what does the engagement quality reviewer actually look at? They focus on the big ticket items, the significant risks identified during the audit, and how the team responded to them. They review the proposed audit opinion. Is it appropriate given the evidence gathered? They also examine critically financial statement disclosures. Do they make sense and comply with requirements? And here's the key point. The audit report should not be issued until this review is completed and any concerns raised by the reviewer has been resolved. You see, the EQR has the authority to say, wait, we are not ready yet. That's how important this role is. Now, no auditor knows everything, and ISA 220 recognizes that quality sometimes means asking for help. Now, when the audit team encounters difficulty or complex matters or unusual transactions, maybe technical accounting questions, complex valuation issues, then they should consult. This might mean reaching out to experts within the firm, like a technical accounting department or a tax specialist. It might mean consulting industry experts or, where necessary, engaging external specialists. Now, the key point is that consultation improves audit quality. It brings more expertise to bear on difficult problems and reduces the risk of the team making a mistake because they are trying to figure out something on their own when they shouldn't have done that. It's a sign of professional maturity, not weakness, to know when to consult. We've talked about direction, supervision, review, and consultation, but none of that matters if it's not documented. Proper documentation is essential for audit quality. The audit file provides evidence that the audit was properly planned, that procedures were actually performed, and that conclusions were reached on a solid foundation. It's the record of the quality work we've done. And here is a practical reality. Poor documentation is one of the most common causes of audit inspection failures. Regulators and reviewers can't see what you did. They can only see what you wrote. And if it's not documented in the eyes of an inspector, it didn't happen. So documentation is not just an administrative task. It's a core part of demonstrating and preserving audit quality. ISA 220 doesn't happen or operate in isolation. It works closely with many other accounting standards. Think of it this way. ISA 200 sets the overall objectives of the audit. ISA 210 establishes the terms of the engagement. ISA 230 governs how we document our work. ISA 300 guides our planning. ISA 315 requires us to access risks, ISA 700 dictates how we form and report our opinion. ISA 220 is the standard that ensures all of these other standards are applied with consistent quality. It's the quality management framework that wraps around everything else, making sure that every step of the audit process is performed to a high standard. Without ISA 220, you could follow all the other standards in a mechanical way, but still produce a low quality audit. ISA 220 ensures that compliance with standards translates into actual audit quality. So let's summarize the key takeaways from ISA 220. First, ISA 220 ensures audit quality at the engagement level, not just at the firm level, but on each individual audit job. Second, the engagement partner has overall responsibility for that quality. They are ultimately accountable. Third, ethical compliance, especially independence, is absolutely critical. Without ethics, quality is impossible. Fourth, proper direction, supervision, and review must be performed throughout the audit. These are the practical activities that build quality into the work. Fifth, for high-risk audits, an engagement quality reviewer may be required to provide an independent objective evaluation before the report is issued. And finally, documentation is essential. It provides the evidence that quality work was done. In simple terms, ISA 220 ensures that audits are not just completed, but completed properly. It's the standard that turns a finished audit into a quality audit. So to leave you with a final thought, ISA 220 is about protecting the credibility of the audit profession. One engagement at a time, it recognizes that quality is not accidental. It's the result of intentional leadership, ethical behavior, rigorous processes, and careful documentation. By following ISA 220, we don't just meet standards, we earn the trust that the public places in the audit opinion. Great work, staying to the end. Strong auditors are not defined only by technical knowledge, but by their commitment to audit quality. And that is exactly what ISA 220 represents. For exam candidates, mastering standards like this gives you a major advantage in both exams and real-world practice. Keep building your technical strength, keep strengthening your professional discipline, and keep moving one step closer to becoming an outstanding audit professional. If this lesson helped you, stay connected. We're simplifying the entire ISA framework, one standard at a time. See you in the next video. And until then, bye for now.